Howdy everyone. Today we're talking the pros and cons of living long-term in New York City. I'm currently here in the dead of night in Astoria, Queens, filming this, and I want to give it to you from someone who's kind of lived in the local area and tried out a bunch of different places, Astoria, Upper West Side, and so forth. So first and foremost, I do want to address some of the things that may be pros initially or cons initially, but aren't really when I think you get to the bottom of it. And obviously there's subjectivity here, so let's get down to it. First and foremost, one of the potential cons is the noise, the loud noise and traffic. Well, it depends on where you live. Sure, I think a lot of areas do has more noise than if you lived in a different state, but usually I found the noise to really not be an issue. There's some noise, but I've lived in the Upper West Side, I've lived in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, I've lived in Astoria, Queens, I've lived in East New York, and usually you only get noise around rush hour, around 5 p.m., 6 p.m., maybe early mornings, 9 p.m. It goes for about half hour, an hour, and then it dies down. And so that does happen, but if you have a decent noise canceling headphone or microphone, I think it's good enough, at least for me. And also, you kind of live far out of the city because it's cheaper. So farther out you live, less noise there is. One of the big pros is the food. You get more food, more choices than ever before, and that's true. But also keep in mind, most of the food is not healthy. So that's not really what you want to strive to live off of long term. New York's known for their pizzas, bagels, maybe burgers, and then you get the Chinese food, you got tacos, all that other stuff. That's not usually healthy. Pasta, what have you, it's not that healthy. Ramen. So I think long term, if you actually want to care to live healthily and on budget, you're going to have to be making a lot of your own food. So, that's something you want to consider. Yeah, you get that accessibility to have all the food and variety you want from time to time, but what are you going to be doing most of the week? It's good to kind of eat in sometimes. So that's another thing you have to consider. What else? Well, another pro that you want to consider is just the tourist attractions. There's probably over 100, and then even more maybe. From Statue of Liberty, Brooklyn Bridge, Museum of Ice Cream. There's almost endless things to do. Top of the Rock, Rockefeller Center. So that's a big pro. But also keep in mind that's a tourist thing. So yeah, you can keep doing this, but for how long? If you're looking to live here long term, I feel like at some point you got to put the tourist stuff aside. It's going to get old, and maybe you don't want to keep going to museums and stuff. Maybe you do, but for me, I think there comes a point where you're going to be like, all right, I'm sick of going to this new monument. What's long term here that I care about in New York? And so that really gets down to the meat of it. When you put aside the food, put aside the touristy stuff, what's another pro or con of New York? A con would be the dirtiness of the city. That's obvious. Another con would be the amount of homeless people and mentally ill people. I get asked for money probably once a day. One of the pros is the sheer amount of people. That's great for career networking. And along that lines, another pro is for certain careers like acting. This is your metropolis. This is one of the best places. Like, you're going to get more opportunities here than anywhere else if you want to pursue certain careers. Even in certain business senses, depending on your industry, could be a fantastic way of meeting people or selling stuff. For me, not as much of an issue because I'm not really that concerned about that. But another side of this is more people to meet for dating purposes, more chances, better girl-guy ratio, more people compared to living in a small town or suburb. So you have to keep that in mind. And then just to wrap up this video, I think the final pros and cons, This place is expensive, probably the biggest con. Rent prices are going to be higher. And sure, a lot of people will take that hit, but is it worth it? Sometimes you might be having the time of your life, but then at what cost? Are you potentially forsaking money that you can reinvest and turn into a lot more money through index funds or whatnot? Are you saving money that could be used for other resources? Is that payoff in rent prices worth what you're getting in return? For some people, yes. They have more activities, social activities here, whether it's a sports league or dating or just stuff to do. And that's worth it for them, or career opportunities. For others, maybe if they thought about it, they could probably get that similar vibe of what they want elsewhere, because maybe their career or industry doesn't require that stuff, and they could probably move to, I don't know, Colorado and get a similar sense for a lot cheaper. So that's it. Did I miss a big pro and con? Let me know in the comments below.